Great Ishavasha, this Mundaka Upanishad. Om Shri Gurubhyo Paramagurubhyo Srimadananda Chitta Bhagavat Padacharyobhyo Namo Namaha Narayana Paripurna Gunarnavaya Visvodaya Stititolaya Niyati Prataya Jnana Prataya Vibhuda Sura Saukya Dukkha Satkaranaya Vidataya Namo Namaste Yo Vipralimba Viparita Mati Prabhudan Vadan Nirasya Kritavan Bhuvitatvavadam सर्वेश्वरो हरिरीति प्रतिपादकं तम् आनन्दतीर्थमुनिवर्यं नमामि पूज्याय राघवेन्द्राय सत्यधर्मरताय च भजतां कल्पवृक्षाय नमतां कामधेनवे सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावतीतमस्तु मा विश्विदावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः माण्डुक्य उपनिषदः शान्तिपाठः ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवांसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति न पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नक्षार्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्ददातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Welcome friends, we are going into the very highly important aspect of the Mandukya Upanishad. Mantra number 7 we are going to embark upon. This mantra, in fact, if you take the entire across the Upanishadic verses and Upanishadic wisdom, this mantra stands apart from all the Upanishads, in that this gives the highest possible attainment for any human being in this world. This has been so elegantly described here when in the process of explaining what is this highest goal a human being can attain in this world during his lifetime. It also explains eloquent and exquisite explanation of what a God is like. God, what is the God concept? Godhead. Every religion in the world, they have got, they have explained the primordial power or the superpower, the power that is controlling the entire beings, entire world. They have tried to describe, they have given variety of interpretations, descriptions and all. But this description given in the mantra number 7 of Mandukya Upanishad stands apart. It is the most elegant explanation or most elegant description of the Almighty ever one could see. What is that? If that's going to be seen, why it can't be told, to everyone, whoever wants to know that, they should be able to know that, and how we can know that. So that is why this mantra not only gives the elegant and exquisite explanation of the Godhead, what is the Paramatma, and what is the concept of Paramatma, how a human being can approach by living in this world with his sensory equipments working all along to wean him away from the internal journey. It gives wholesome concept of what is the description of the highest goal a man can attain or a human being can attain, man, woman or anyone who can attain in this world, and what is the elegant exposition of the Paramatma, and what is the ways and means one can approach and try to give an understanding. What it does give is, it gives a direction. When it gives a direction, what it means is you have to take lot of efforts. It gives you all the equipments, all the knowledge, all the know-how, so that you take all the efforts, finally you will be able to realize. It gives everything possible to you. It gives you enough information to you. The responsibility is with us. For instance, when we talk about Upanishad and all, we all talk about, with grand concepts, because all the religious leaders and whoever is talking, and they will certainly say, because that is what the Vedas or Upanishads or scriptures of any religion says. It is the ethereal to ephemeral. It is to the transcendental from terrestrial. All those things we say. It is to the inner core, from what you are experiencing in this world, all these things. But it doesn't carry any meaning to any of us. Because we don't have any, we all hear it, as if, you are hearing a movie and seeing a story, but it doesn't mean, how you have to impart, this particular concept of ethereal to ephemeral or terrestrial to transcendental. These words can go on describing. But here, when we say, this elegant expression of the God description is there, Paramatma's description is here, beyond this there cannot be any words. Beyond this, there can only be one thing, that is silence. Law of the Lord is love, and language of the Lord is silence. Amatra, what is it? Because that word also we will see in this Upanishad as comes. The silence that will have to pervade past the entire being of us. When we mean silent at that point of time, we see, because we are into the total, our own internal control. As of now, we don't have any control whatsoever. If I say it, you may not agree or you may not agree. You may say, I have got a control. That's how, I have taken effort to come and sit in this discussion. Today morning, I have to do so many things I have done. I have got a control. If you see, none of them you have any control whatsoever on you. It is a sort of a wild and sometimes a mischievous statement also. What is that? How is it that? How do we say that? In the sense, constantly when we get the thoughts, they are all like a bubbles coming from the bottom of the sea. It comes. When it comes, it comes to the fore. When it ferments, touches the surface, it becomes a thought. There are so many things come. Wanted, unwanted, something which you are supposed to do, which something you have to abstain from, disdain, all those things come. So what is that? So when we have it, we don't have any control. After all, we are whatever, comes to us, whatever we are used to, whatever tendencies, vasanas, they come up. We immediately do it. But before doing it, there is possibly an option of whether I should say yes to the thought or no to the thought. But we don't realize that particular state because that needs lot of efforts, like constantly meditating, because what we said, dharana, dhyana, and then finally going to samadhi, and all these great concepts come about. But as of now, what happens, we are not able to say yes or no to any of the thoughts. Our tendencies come to the fore. We keep doing it by default. If we think we have got a free will, I wanted to take coffee, I have taken coffee. No. Because you wanted to take a coffee, but something else. Okay. You wanted to take coffee, but you couldn't take coffee. Something else comes in front of you, then you change your mind, you take something else. Are you able to, the audibility is okay? Okay. So you are trying to take something, you change your mind, or you take your coffee not the way you would like to, what is available, at this point of time, and then you try to change. It's all going on because by default we are doing the things. We are not giving an attention because these things are called habits. Morning I have to get up, brush my teeth, take coffee or tea, and then I have to do something. These are all controlled by habits, tendencies, which doesn't need any great decision to say yes or no. We are all going by that. So in that what happens, even we have got something else to do, which is very important. Ourselves might have planned. We may not be able to plan and do that thing particularly once you give in to these habits, which are all tendencies which is coming from the bottom. So this is where, the entire question arises. If that is the case, how we can go and say, find the thought and all. Say it is a constant exercise, because we have to do over a period of time, more you try to give attention to what priorities of work, which you have to do right from the morning based on your need. Once you give a conscious attempt to that, slowly this will come. But the people like us, we don't have that much time, energy, effort to do all those things. We are in the normal world with the normal lifestyle, and we will have to be living in this world and do it. So what we do, then we try to see ordinary experiences. We don't have any mystic experiences. So we can't say we claim to have any mystic experiences, because all the great masters have had mystic experiences. When they had the mystic experiences, we say, because it happened, it happened. So then we try to learn from that master, and we have got a guru, or we have got some known persons, or we have got some babas, who are done, and then they try to follow. But we find a lot of people living in this world amongst us, like one of the greatest persons, in our lifetime, like Mahaperiyar, who lived. He was able to, because he lived like us. He didn't have any separate life and all. He was going, he was going to places. He was performing his rituals. He was also interacting with people. He was also trying to give solution to a lot of people who came to him with the problems. Everything we did it. But at the same time, because they have all by training, they knew what is likely to happen. Their chakras were fully tuned, Agnya chakra, everything and all. And at the same time, they interacted with the people in their own language. They didn't talk about mambo jumbo. See, if you see, what Mahaperiyar has said in the Daivatin Kural or whatever has been read, or what Raghavendra Swami has said, whatever he was in lifetime, it is all what we can understand they have said. But they have said in such a way, slowly you give a ear to that, you just give your attention to that, there it will bring about a change. By doing that, what happens, you are also will slowly try to give some sort of effort, conscious effort in what you have planned to do and what you are doing. Then you will be able to determine, and you will be able to have some control on thought, not fully will, because thought is very difficult. It's the highest level, people couldn't even control, they couldn't do the thoughts, and they have also slipped and they have come up again, because this is a very great spiritual effort, it is required. In our case, in our normal way of doing it, what this mantra gives is give an identification of our experience. That's why this entire Upanishad approaches what you are doing every day. You are waking up, doing the things, going to sleep. See, because it's not a full sleep, you dream and then you go to the deep sleep and then you come back again. From your ordinary experiences, this mantra gives to investigate your ordinary experiences. The ability to investigate your ordinary experiences, and then once you try to look at that, you find what is the meaning of these experiences. What is that finally we will have to look for? That is the direction it gives. Because when we talk about the God, it has got two concepts. When people say it is a Nirguna Brahma, because as Advaita has proposed, it doesn't have any jati. That doesn't mean, it is not it's not a man, woman, or Napumsakalinga, nothing at all. It doesn't have any guna. Because guna in the sense, all of us have got, the three gunas, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. All the three gunas are there. When you talk about consciousness or Paramatma, it doesn't have any of those things. And then we are all doing the things. He doesn't have any action to be done because he is fulfilled. Apneya, Sarvapta, he has got everything done. So he doesn't have to do anything at all. And finally, when he come to, he doesn't conventionally, he doesn't have any relationship with anyone. For him, everyone is equal. In fact, the mantra, what it takes, is finally how we are going to get into this concept in this world, living in this world, the way we are living, the present way of living. That's what it gives a direction. That is why this mantra, the way we take it, because we can't get into the jumbo of, the terrestrial to transcendental, ethereal to ephemeral, and all those things will not work for us, because we may talk about to give the description of the concept, but all this description will come back without giving any understanding about the God. That is why Shabdaha Nivavrate. Anything you say, it will come and only you will hear, and it will go other way. Yes, that is something like that. These people are telling, these great people must have done, it has got nothing to do. We have got nothing to do with this. But this mantra says we have got everything to do with this. We have got everything to understand. This is where, the entire life has to be taken in, and we will have to go into the highest possible goal that is possible in this lifetime to attain the most elegant exposition what has been given, to understand the direction by ourselves. It gives lot of helpful ideas, helpful means to understand that. That is what we are doing. That is why this mantra stands apart across the entire Upanishadic literature, classic literature, and this has been taken by every Acharya, everyone who is in Sanatana Dharma. This is a very, very important mantra. Beyond this, there cannot be any more description, it could only be silence. So once you understand, finally, by knowing this, you are also getting into the mode of silence. That amatra, we will be describing that great concept. That is where, you will get all your visions. That is the visions beyond, what we see and all. So jnana vision, vision of jnana that will comes. That comes, it will only flashes. It is not that someone will continuously be seeing like what we are seeing with our eyes. It is not that. It is just like that, momentary. It comes and goes. So with this introduction, it is something which we have to give a lot of attention, because it is meant for us, not for some people who are doing some great acharya, something. It is meant for every human being, and it gives a direction. We have to understand from that point of view. So more we understand from that point of view, it depends upon everyone's ability to gather and go about it. Certainly all of us can do. More you hear, more you listen to that, it gives you some change in your attitude. It change in your approach, in change in the way you speak, because basically everything comes. But most of the things we don't know, because most of the things when we talk about, we don't apply the thought. For instance, in my house, if I have kept something and I am terribly worried about it and rather angry, and I am searching for, if I ask someone in my house, whoever it may be, wife, daughter, son, or son-in-law, mother-in-law, whoever it may be, if you ask, oh, where was it? Then no one will say, possibly it will be there. They will say, how do I know? See, immediately what happens is people think, you have kept it, you must be knowing. How come, others, will be able to know that? That is the approach, because then if you have thought about it, if you have given little attention to that, you would not have said that. This is exactly, because how it happens, everyday interaction, it is like this. When we give little more attention, it becomes more elegant. And now coming to this great mantra, mantra number 7 of Mandukya Upanishad. It is in your, you will have to go to the Upanishadic portion, Prabhuda. I think we were going to Karika up to 9. You will have to go back to Upanishadic portion, mantra number 7. The mantra says, I will just read the mantra. It is a little big mantra. I will read it, with slowly. I think you can follow that. Then we will go one after the other, each of the concepts propounded in this mantra. Nanta pragyaha, na anta pragyaha, na bahi pragyam, no bayata pragyam, na pragyana ganam, na pragyam, na apragyam, adarshtam, avyavharyam, agrahyam, alakshanam, achintyam, avyopodeshyam, ekatmya pratyasaram, eka atmya pratyayasaram. Only one sentence will be there, ekatmya pratyaya. If you split it, padacheda, eka atmya pratyayasaram, prapanchopashamam, shantam, shivam, advaitam, chaturtam, manyante sa atma savijñeyaha. The last line what we say is sa atma savijñeyaha. That is the atma savijñeyaha, that is to be understood. The last line says, and telling all these things. And this mantra is, most of us who have participated in Isavasya Upanishad, we have got a similar mantra in the mantra number 8 of Isavasya Upanishad. Sapargaya chukram akayam avranam asnaviram suddham apapa viddam kavir manishi paribhu swayambur yata tatyato vartan shasvatebhya samapyah. One mantra, very big mantra is there. Mantra number 8, which is a very important mantra. It is like that. In that mantra is also akayam avranam, in the sense, God doesn't have a body like this, body like us. That's what it says. The first one are all negative descriptions. Nantaha, like, supposing, as I gave an example of, suppose if someone has not taken pasta, and unless, because normally we are used to South Indian food. If you say, you can say pasta is like sevai, pasta is like, noodles. You may give all those things. pasta will taste like this, it will have vegetables, all those things. But he may understand to some extent. But unless you want to really know him what is a pasta, you ask him to taste a pasta. So then only you will understand. Here also it is like that. It gives all the descriptions. Finally, when it says you want to understand, you try to get the experience yourself, by your means, whatever is possible, then you will understand. But then they give all the possibilities by which you can get. That is the greatness of this mantra. Na antapragyaha. Na antapragyaha we have seen, first word. Na antapragyaha, it is our latent impressions of the mind which is coming in our dream. Latent impressions of the mind comes based on our experiences, what has been stored, what has been registered, what you have read, what you have heard, what you have had a sort of a fascination for. You might be enchanted by something, those things would have been recorded there. You might have watched a serial, but some particular serial, some dialogue in the serial might have been registered, or some particular scene in the scene. Those things come in your dreams, but they are not reality, but they are your stuffed up internal impressions, your desires which you want to be. Sometimes you might not have gone to your country, maybe US. You might be thinking you might not have gone to US, but everyone is telling, my son is in US, my daughter is in US, I have been there, I went to Atlanta, there is a Disney, this and that, and all. People will keep telling you the stories, and you will also be seeing in the TVs and all. So you will imagine something. If you have a desire, sometime I will have to go to US. So those things, even if you have not been there, based on whatever knowledge you have gathered, that will come into your later impressions. That comes into later impressions. So we get, sort of an idea as to what you Na anta pragyaha. And we said, it is caused by Tejasa. Tejasa is the Almighty's Rupa, which gives these lateral impressions to our mind. So that, we are able to get the benefit of, because we are out of the body, we are out of the worldly experience, our lateral impressions only come. So when you get a lateral impressions, it is not Na anta pragyaha, it is not Paramatma. Turiya. In this case, when we pay Paramatma and all, this entire mantra talks about Turiya. Turiya is nothing but fourth. In Chaturtha, in Sanskrit, Turiya means Chaturtha. This mantra explains what is the concept of Turiya. Turiya is considered to be the highest concept, because once you attain the status of Turiya, you will not be having any attachment to anything. A simple example, all of us know, it is like a lotus. Lotus will be in the water. Like all of us, we will be in the samsara. We can't avoid that. But lotus, none of the water particles or water drops get attached to the lotus. Lotus floats, but it needs water to be there. But it is not getting attached to the water. That is the status you will get once you attain the Turiya. Before going to further, I will just explain what is the greatness of this Turiya and all. As we go further into this Upanishad, some of the concept I have to bring little in advance so that we are able to appreciate these concepts and all. Once you get into that stage, in the waking state, what we said, because we were able to deal with the external world, because he is giving us, he is putting the objects in front of us, he is giving the sort of the possible experiences to our need based on our capacity to absorb, he puts everything to us. That is what the waking experience we said. So when we said, because Ekona Vimshati Mukaha, Shaptangaha, so there only he is a Vishwa, he is giving us the Sthula Sharira, because Sthula book, we are able to get the worldly experience. That is Vishwa, we call it. Vaishwanara, he is the one who is giving it, that's what. But the Turiya concept, once you get the Turiya status, assuming, we are able to get that so-called detachment, because still we are not able to explain, or nor any of us have got. Perhaps the idea is slowly you get towards that. Your travel will be such, your journey will be that. So we will have to enjoy the journey to that, because that will give you the greatest bliss. Not only that, you will be someone who you will be like same capacity like Vaishwanara. Anyone who is interacting with you, you will be able to provide that possibility of giving him the external experiences what God has given to you. For instance, most of us, because the Raghavendra Swami Aradhana, 350th Aradhana was there, this 23rd and 24th and 25th. The Raghavendra Swami, we know his lifetime. Finally, when so many people across the country, now across the world, there are so many places, its Aradhana is taking place. How people do have belief, because by just not only worshipping him, taking his concept and concentrating, meditating upon him, they will be able to get to the better experiences, or their problems will be solved at a sort of a very basal level. All their problems will be solved, and they will be able to get whatever thing, they will be able to have a better approach. They will be able to get an attitude. They will be able to get a knowledge. They will be willing to face the world. That's what happens. When it happens, this mantra says, we will see later, once you attain the Turiya state, you will be able to provide some worldly experience to people whom you are approaching. In the sense, as God, Vaishvanara, he does to all the human beings, through these people who are supposed to be muktas, the great acharyas like Mahaprabhu in our lifetime, like Raghavendra Swami and all those great acharyas, whoever goes, you go to Sai Baba, Shirdi Sai Baba, where, because people go thousands and millions in number, because they have gone to that stage. So that what happens, even when you want something which you don't deserve, when you go to the Shirdi temple, you get an idea, you try to work on what is possible and what you deserve. It's not that whatever you want, they give it to you. They bring in a change in attitude. They bring in a change in approach. That is what happens. It's not that, you go anything and you ask for everything, they can't give you, because what you want, may not be, you may not be deserving, nor whether it is legally correct. Someone may think, I am doing this and I am doing smuggling, let my income grow 3 times. Sai Baba will not give. But Sai Baba will give him the other way. You better give it to a lot of charity. See, he may not think, give up. A man who is doing a smuggling, he can't give up. But he will give a charity, because you try to share, whatever you got, and try to reduce the man may slowly think, because how long I will do it? Slowly I will have to change my ways. I will have to come into the mainstream of the world where legally I can do the things. A lot of people may be there, because we don't know Rishi Moolam and Nadi Moolam, because we see all people once they have grown big. What has happened, during this process we have not seen. They might have gone through so many things. And these changes have been brought not by anything, because when you go to these places, the change in attitude takes place. The change in your mental approach takes place. Your change in view takes place. Your change in thought takes place. It is not that, you get by, they are not having a Kamadhenu to give you everything. He is a Kamadhenu because he is giving the greatest thought to you. So you yourself will be able to get it. He enables you to get that. See, as a waking state, Vaishvanara is giving us the worldly experience to us in Vishwa experience. All these acharyas, once they attain a Turiya stage, they are capable of giving to those people who approach and surrender to them. This is what happens. So, Nata Pragyaha, in the sense, what you are telling, it is not the someone, who is coming and giving the lateral impression. He is not the Almighty. He says only your own lateral impressions which you accumulated by your own experience. The Turiya concept, I said, once you attain that, you will not be having, because you will not be giving any thought to these lateral experiences, lateral impressions. You will not be seeking any meaning for these lateral impressions. You will not be seeking any meaning for the worldly experience. You will be taking it as it comes by. If something comes by, you will take it. If it doesn't come by, you will not be bothered about. You will be going along nonchalantly. That is what the life is about. That is what they said, Nanta Pragyana. First they talk about the lateral impressions, because the lateral impression is the one which again, in a cycle, it again becomes a waking experience. See, from waking experience, it becomes a lateral impressions. From lateral impressions, it becomes a deep sleep. In the deep sleep, it becomes a seed. Again, it goes and comes to the dream, and it comes to the waking experience again. It's a cycle goes on. So when the cycle goes on, your attitude and approach will change. Based on that, you will not be longing for something. You will not be going out of the way for something. You will be doing everything possible within your command, within your efficiency, with the total concentration, with the total dedication. When it comes, you will be taking it. You will not be going after that without any because you will not be unduly going after that. As well as if it doesn't come, you will not be bothered about it. You will be going about whatever else you can do, go about it and all. If it doesn't come, you will not be bothered. If it comes, you will be just taking it as a matter of factly, because then you are going. When you are doing it like that, you are not going to be working for yourself, because slowly this process will take away the mine and ours. The entire concept will be taken up. The entire Turiya stage is where mine and mine, which has to be taken out. This is called Dvaitam, Advaitam. Dvaitam is mine, me, and my own, because it is my own house, my own sort of car. We are taking about. I can claim it to be my own house and my own car, but so many people have worked for that, and someone has provided funds for me to get this house I am living now. Likewise, it has happened, and I have also tried my best to get the resources for that. I have done that. But then finally, what is this? As we first mantra of Isavasya Upanishad always remember, Kasyas Vitanam, whose wealth is this? It is all his. It has come. It was not there when we were here, and slowly it has come to us. It will also be there, and it will be going to the person who is deserving, maybe your son or someone else, and as it will be going. So when this comes, you will not be having a total attachment. You will be enjoying whatever facilities that is available to you. It is a detached attachment. You will not be holding on to this as if if it goes off, my entire life will be gone off. If I don't have this house, and that's all, I am lost. You will not be giving that type of thing, but you will be taking it as it is. It has come. So a much bigger house may come, or you may have to go to a different place and different, because if you go to Bombay, you can, the one room flat is supposed to be a luxury in the central Bombay, and if a 3-room flat is a sort of a given thing, in either small cities. So you will not be longing for look, I had a 3-bedroom flat there, now I have to live in 1 bedroom with everything and all. It's not that. You will be going with the Kala Desha Vartamana, because you will not be longing for anything. Whatever comes in the way, you will be taking it. That approach, attitude, when it gives, this is where there you get the detached attachment. Whatever comes, you will be taking it. You will not be unduly going for that. This is na antapragya, na bahi pragya. Likewise, outwardly, the experience will be different from different places. Here in India, you will have a servant mind and all. If you go to US, you will have to wash your own things. You will have to wash your thing. You can't say, I had 5 servants in India, and here I have to do everything and all. That is the way given there. You will have to live like that. You can't be cribbing about. You take whatever comes. In that concept, try to do whatever is best from your point of view. So you do your own given things, look after your family. If possible, try to participate in the community service, or be interacting with the people, do something, or get back to home, or see some other deserving person, anything to be there, like that. Whatever is within your means, nothing, you don't have to go out of the way, but then do. Because because not doing is not at all acceptable. Kurvante karmani, in the sense, you will have to do that. Kurvati karmani, that prichaye sajjanaha. Because anyone who wants to, anyone who will be pleasing anyone else, we will have to do that. There is no question of procrastination and non-action. So this is the first one. Now bahi pragyam, no bayata pragyam. Bayata pragyam in the sense it is in between, because the waking and dreaming sleep, because somnambulism they call it. And another thing, bayataha, it means desires. Now bayata pragyam, always, you are getting the conscious desire, mainly because you have got some stored desire. I have to get this. Slowly, because once you accept whatever comes to you, and when you don't long for whatever doesn't come to you, the desire will go off. You will not be unnecessarily, because once you are working for, because let me work for whatever, I am capable of. Something I deserve, automatically it will come. Something, I don't, perhaps, which is not coming, I am not bothered about it. So that approach, when it comes, because these are all the one, bringing about to me equanimity in your attitude, mind and approach. So what is called turiya is not a concept, you can't, it is not a thing or object. It is a subjective thing which has to be worked upon to be realized by everyone in their own way, how they are able to balance themselves to their wants as well as their desires. To bring a balance between their wants, desires and what they have, that is turiya as far as we are concerned. Because that balance, because basically the imbalance only caused the entire life cycle suffering, what we call life cycle descent. At the same time, you have to give importance to everything, to your body. After all, your body is working. So it is also enabling you, it is helping you. It gives you warning. Very often we don't listen to the warning given by our own bodies. This is what, when Ramakrishna Math, when all the Swamijis were being initiated into that brahmacharya to, this next stage. When doctor came and they asked doctor to advise, just to give them a talk. Doctor said, what am I going to do? Because these monks are so well read and they have got all the concepts. What am I going to tell them? But anyway, let me tell whatever I know about them. He says, you may be doing so many things, but you have got a wonderful body. You know how many things it does? He said, I will just give one small example. He said that the liver, all our liver, we pump so many foods based on our desires all through the years, right from our birth to till date. When you do everything, the liver has to work overtime. So when it works overtime, it is generating, it is sort of creating lot of biochemicals. Lot of biochemicals are created there, generated there. The enzymes are generated there. With that only it is able to manage whatever you are stuffing into your stomach. He said, if you have to calculate, because to produce so many biochemicals outside the world, you need 500 acres of land. So whatever biochemicals that can be produced in 500 acres of land is being generated by your liver. And as of, because we are not conscious of that, because whatever we desire, we take it, we leave it to the liver to do its job. So it does it. Likewise, your body is cooperating with you, working for you, and very fine. But whenever there is some abnormality comes in, when symptoms comes in, it asks you to take care, because it is our responsibility to take care of the body also. Because through that body only, we are able to get, whatever knowledge or whatever experience, whatever good, bad, or everything in this world, we are able to get only through the body. So we have to keep the body perfect. So likewise, because now when you have a desire, because when you see, very often the liver has a problem because your desire exceeds the capability of liver. We try to take, because why not, let me taste it and all like. Once you have a discipline in your eating, like you are disciplining in your thought, like slowly it comes, by everyone's way of their own experience, it comes to you, it gives a balance. It gives a balance of desires, it gives a balance of wants, it gives a balance of action, it gives a balance of looking after your body only. Because we say, where is God? Because God, as Ramana Maharishi said, when you are able to move the finger, that is God. Because when you will realize God, when you are not able to move the finger. Now, if you go to the lot of orthopedic, institutes, the people coming with so many sort of disabilities, you see, how it happens at all, because so many reasons it takes place. Some of them by metamorphosis, they have not taken care of the body. You don't have any adequate calcium or something like that. You have not taken the balanced food and all those things. So many things are there. So therefore, to look after the body, and basically the prana, when it comes in, it does prana, apana, vyana, udana, samana. It does a very great act. Because like a mother, it looks after you. That is why in the Tattvavada concept, Vayu Jivottama, what they say, he is the one who is doing it. He is creating all the dirt. Whatever you are pumping in, he is creating the dirt. And he is also digesting whatever you are giving it and convert it into energy. And he is also giving the balance, samana, between your energy and action, and as well as your thought, everything and all, your chakra balance. Like your chakra balance, prana gives the balance to the entire Annamaya kosha. All the 5 koshas, which we will also be talking about, all these 5 koshas, they have got their own importance in the way of balancing our thoughts, mind and all. Just for the purpose of, even though we have been discussing this koshas, Annamaya kosha is taking care of the entire flesh, blood and the entire generative and all those system physical. The Pranamaya kosha is the control. It has got the switches, all the chakras. It gives the balance. By constantly working on the, because we are constantly by working on that Sushma, with this Sushma chakra, Pranamaya kosha only, you are able to achieve the balance of thoughts, balance of action, and your balance of bodily health. Because some of the diseases, they say, your Swadhisthana is not okay, they say. And if you have got a heart problem, your Anahita chakra is not okay. So by doing meditation, people have brought in, because Patanjali has given great Yoga Sutras, and with this done with the dedication, with the meditative ability, you will be able to cure most of the diseases. That gives, basically, that comes out of the Pranamaya kosha. And Pranamaya kosha, then you got a Manonmaya kosha. The Manonmaya kosha is nothing but your own thoughts, mind. The mind is, because to control the mind is basically the Manonmaya kosha. Once your chakras are controlled and they are in the place, your mind will automatically be stable. You will not be wavering at all. Because that gives the next one. It controls the entire mind. Manonmaya kosha. And then you got a Vijnanamaya kosha. That is where your intellect comes. The intellect which tells you what is right and what is wrong. It tells you, its function is only to tell you. But it is for you to decide. Even something is wrong, you will still be doing it. Because if your vasanas and tendencies are there. But sometimes if you are able to listen to your Vijnanamaya kosha, you may not be telling that. Vijnanamaya kosha is Vishesha Jnana, which is refined, all the knowledge which comes, it tells you whether it is right or bad, wrong, everything it does it. Then once you control everything and all, what you get a final balance of entire being, bodily being, and the Sushma Sarira or the internal Pranamaya kosha, and your mind and your intellect, everything is in a fine balance. It is the Anandamaya kosha. Anandamaya kosha is so far, I think you are totally, of course, unagitated. Like you are having a deep sleep, a wonderful sleep, what you have, momentarily you are in Anandamaya kosha. Only thing is, you don't have any sort of external knowledge and all. That is why you are able to have Anandamaya kosha. Nothing to disturb you. Nothing to disturb your thought. You are to yourself. You are into the total core of yourself. You are able to get. So all the 5 koshas, when we say all these things, all these koshas get balanced. And one thing will come, all these koshas existing. Yes, they are existing. Basically, they are function of your mind. Function of your mind generates all these things. More you think about, your Manonmaya kosha becomes strong. More positive thoughts comes. They are all there. I think, Ashtadisha, the Sangulam, when we said, all the chakras, all the auras of the body, it extends up to 12 inches around our body. So whatever we think, when you are in the good company, the thoughts infuse, you get all good thoughts. In front of a Mahatma or in front of a great soul, you get all positive vibration comes into you. If you are in contact with someone who is doing all sorts of the thing and all those thoughts will also pervade you. So they disturb your aura. So they disturb your aura in the sense they disturb your thoughts. When someone does a quick fix solution and he becomes very rich overnight, and if you are enamored of him, we get that thought out of that. It is basically supposed, it is there with everyone, but once you consciously realize, once you do that, your approach will be basically to get the right ideas, get the right knowledge. Not only that, you will be interacting. Once in a while, you will try to look upon what you have done, what has happened. You will try to take everything as it comes by. You will not be giving any specific attention. See, just because it is not happening doesn't mean you will not be getting it. Just because it is happening every time, it is not that you will go on getting it. Neither it should be there. Once you get that, that is the balance of life. Once you have that, all of us know, without even the Upanishad telling all of us, with this, we will be able to be happier, but we are not able to do it. That is why the Upanishad comes. When it comes, satsangene nisangatva. Why do we go to that? Once you go to satsangam, you get to nisangam. Nisangatvene nirmohatva. Nirmohatva, because your desires and all You don't have any desires, because once you are taking what it comes and you are not bothered about what is in come, where is the desire? Desire is not there. Nisangena nirmohatvam, nirmohatvena nischalatatvam, nischalatatvena mukshatvam. Mukshatvam is you get in the final, that Turiya stage, what it is there. So all the acharyas, when they have got that, when you are in their presence, they are giving you, what they are giving you, the change in your attitude, the change in your ability to think otherwise. That propels you to do lot of things, by reason of which you are getting it. It is not that by meeting that acharya, by going to the Mantralayam, you are getting it. By going to the Shriddi Sai Baba, your attitude changes, your approach changes. When you go there, and the few minutes when you are there, whatever you are thinking till such time, may vanish. You will get a new thought, new approach. Most of us may not be conscious enough to understand that, but all these things have been recorded in Sai Charitra. If you see Sai Charitra, it is there like Raghavendra Swami, because Charitra, if you say Raghavendra Vijayam, if you see, all these things, so many people have got, by his presence. Even the person who was sort of, gone, sort of away from the main stream of life, he has been brought back, he becomes the greatest stone. Like lot of acharyas like that, even the great Apanacharya has given a lot of examples, and in his own lifetime we have read about a lot of stories and all. In their presence, satsangena nisangatvam. That is why we get into Upanishad and all. It gives us the opportunity to have satsangam. It gives the greatest truth to everyone, not only to us. It is giving generations after generation for thousands of years, and it is there. It is for us to take it. It is like it is available to us. Now we are taking it. Whatever we would have otherwise done, we should have done, we have gone out of that because of our own involvement in this world. The Upanishad tries to bring us back to our fulcrum and experience our balance in everything, in our thought, attitude, action, as well as our approach. This is what it happens. So this has come, and then na bhaita pragyam and na pragyana gana. Pragyana ganam, in the sense, we said, it is like you are a nescience, but at the same time you are in a total bliss. It is like, as I gave an example, you are trying to land in a city where it is totally dark. You know about all the good things in the world, but you are not aware of it. That is absence of knowledge. But at the same time, when you don't have absence of knowledge, absence of desire, or absence of any longings and all, that is the wonderful bliss that you experience only in deep sleep. The Turiya stage is nothing but what you are experiencing in deep sleep. That attitude comes all through your life, in the sense, because you don't have any extra desires coming out. No desires at all, because when you are accepting whatever comes to you, if you don't accept whatever comes to you, and I deserve something much better than that, then only it. See, normally, in our normal parlance also, everyone gets what he deserves. That is a normal proverb in any part of the country. Once you accept, I have got what I deserved, then what is the problem of unhappiness? I have got what I deserve. And I also know, because this is not going to be with me. During the period of time, let me be happy, let me smile, let me be pleasant to everyone, whoever is coming across. So in that process, let me not have any untoward attachment to anything at all. Let me be equal to everyone. Let me deal with the other persons like my own family members. Once you have that attitude, and one thing, very important thing is, when Pragyanaganam, when we say, and when we are talking about all other things, even a person who is irritable to you, who is not likable to you because of his attitude, approach, or his way of dealing with or interaction, you will try to find some spots of goodness in him. You will be trying to take those goodness and appreciate, and you will be discarding all other things. You will be dealing with him appropriately, but you will not be having unwanted dvesha to him. He will also have some one or two good qualities. He may be doing so many other things. Despite that, he may be doing, he's looking after his parents, or he's helping people in his own way. So he talks, very rashly, but by heart, he seems to be good and he's doing something. Once you try to find only the goodness in everyone, that is the Turiya stage. You are just in the process of getting into the Turiya stage. That means positivity to its core. Positivity to its core is what we have seen, the flow, the famous book which I was talking about, whose name is very difficult to pronounce. I also said that. The flow, that book, what he has given is full of positive thoughts. The reason for writing that book for that great gentleman was after the Second World War, when people have been replaced out of their country, their place, to another place where they don't know the language, where they don't know any mode of living, where they don't have any money, only some small subsidies at that point of given by some nations, the UN and all the all the nations of allied nations who gave it. On that they were living as a charity. But he found, in spite of it, there was no sort of feeling of pathos, injustice. A lot of people, they were able to manage and come out of that. How they are able to come out? Almost they don't have anything to fall upon. The family is not there. Their own place is not there. They are in some other place. They have to depend upon. He might have been a professor in some other country. Now he has to do some washing the car or something like that. He is happy with that. Then when he tried to find, then only he wrote the great book called Flow. Flow is nothing but positivity at its peak, at its hilt. The positivity what we bring about, that gives the total, it's not the satisfaction, it is the propensity to do something more for people like us. Once you just feel how you have been fortunate enough to get certain things, there are less fortunate people who are still around us. When we are trying to give an extension of our hand, taking that into account, what is possible from our side, whatever little we can do. Even you can teach a couple of children, or you can help some person, who is trying to get some books or something. Likewise, everyone has done that. See, after the Second World War, if you see in the entire Europe, it was a story of misery and pathos. But the way they all came out and they came up was, it is mainly because their positivity. It is like that everywhere it happens. In war-torn country, even otherwise it happens. Therefore, in the normal life, why not? Once we have this change of attitude, I think the question of sufferings or apart from suffering, even our own the unpleasantness, happiness will always be there. Happiness is a birthright. It is a matter of right for us. The smiling is something like which we'll have to do on and off. That is what the Upanishad says. We should not be without our smile at any point of time. Once we have this attitude, this is what this particular mantra comes. It is little abstract in the sense it goes on telling which is not. Na pragyana ganam, na pragyam. Pragyam in the sense consciousness at its height. What is pragyam? Pragyam in the sense you are doing meditation, or you are doing Patanjali Yoga Sutra, you got. You are getting into dhyana, dharana, dhyana, samadhi, you got. Some people may be showing, because look, they are doing the hatha yoga and all. So when you are doing that, they say, they have got the vision of the Lord, or vision of the power, vision of some light. All those things comes and all. He said, na pragyam. Even that is not the God. That is not the Turiya. In the sense, whatever you feel that you got something much better with these equipments of mind, body and intellect, it cannot be God. It cannot be Turiya. It cannot be Paramatma. You have to go beyond that. How is it possible? That is by giving a total surrender. Surrender in the sense, once you have a sort of a balance, whatever coming, you are taking, and you are not longing for anything, and you are having a balance, keep the mind available to him. So he is taking care of it. And how will be possible? By having a love to him. Love to him in the sense, he has given you all these things. He has enabled you to do all these things. See, the height of entire thing is in Madhvacharya, when he was asked, because how one has to get, this particular concept of total devotion to the God, He said, why you are not looking, even in your house, in the old houses, if you see, in South Indian houses, we have got a common occurrence of lizard is there everywhere. Lizard, it flows around here and there and all. It makes lot of noises. In my house in Madurai, it is full of lizards only. Always, they have got a gay time there. And what is that? The Acharya says, have you heard their sound? It squeaks. It gives some small chirping sound. It keeps, but all the biologists say, it is a call, self-defense, and it is a call for mating, or it is call for fighting against that. It is call for preying on a sort of a small worm or insect. All those things they say. But Madhvacharya says totally different things. He says lizard is such a wonderful creature. You don't know when it has come to life and when it has gone out. But whenever it says, it is just wondering at the capability of a God to have created this world. When you hear a lizard sound, you just imagine when lizard says, it is wondering what a great creation, the primordial power he has given us everything. And that is what it reminds you every minute when it says and all. So likewise, once even when you have a lizard chirping, you think, that it is wondering the presence of God, but as a being, you are much better being, much bigger being, you are not able to do it. This is what he said. That is why, he could see everywhere and all. Because the story is there, when he went to, there was a big storm, he went there and just took his shawl, over his body and showed it, and it's not. He saw even the God in the breeze, he God in the storm, saw the God in the wind, he saw the God in the water, he saw God in the sand. He loved so much, he's totally, everything is, when he said, it's all created, because the sand is so wonderful. Because we have not realized the sand, and the sea sand is the one which is giving thorium and all other elements now, for our great purposes and all. Because see, everything is a wonder of the God. Once you see, it is wonder of the God and wonder of the world. It's wonder of our being, and that is the biggest, because that is what you will get once you have all these things. Once you have a balance, you will be wondering at everything. The ability to wonder, as I said, is the final one. This Turiya also tries to bring about. See, nothing for us, it's not a given, because by nonchalantly, if you see anything, you don't have any importance for that. But everything is a wonder. Because even in this situation, we are, so many people are, we have come out of that. You just to see what were the situation 1 year before. The same situation has slowly changing. Now it is coming. It's a reasonably positive proposition. And maybe, with a couple of months hence or by the end of this calendar year, things may be better. It is taking us, and then we are trying to change our way of life. How it happens? Because we have not balanced our life with the nature and other beings. Now we have been forced, because this has been brought about, so we will be balancing our life with the nature. We will not be going out unnecessarily unless we are required. We will not be traveling unless we are required. This has been brought about. Otherwise, even if you are not required, the facility is available, you are traveling. Because Keneshitam Patati Preshitam Managa, even aimlessly we were traveling. Okay, let me go and see this place. There is an opportunity for that. Now we will not be doing all those things. Because all these things have created a problem for other creatures and all. Not only that, now we will be going what is our need and not what we expect and what is our greed. The world has been brought to a stage, as Mahatma Gandhi said, the world can give you and meet everyone's need but not meet everyone's greed. That's what he said. That is what exactly the Upanishad, when you have a balance of approach, not only taking you into account with the concern for others. So concern for others is very important in the sense other beings, not only other human beings. So other beings and other creatures which has come into the world, other biological species in this world, taking that account. That is what this entire Turiya state. Why a lot of the Mahans you find only in Himalayas? Because there is nothing to fall upon. So they are all there, they have gone there because no facility available. And by no facility, they can't have any desire. Forget about, even if they have desire, they will have to, nothing can be achieved at 11,000, 12,000 feet. And 6 months, there will be full of snow. Unless some charity gives you some food for 6 months, you will not be able to survive in the upper regions of Himalayas. Because a lot of sadhus, they are living, lot of organizations arrange for them, the 6 months storage of foods for them, food at least the materials for them, so that they can survive and live. Some of them are living even without that. So they have gone to the, why they have gone on their own? Because in the sense, not that they have to show the world they are capable of it, because it is for themselves to realize them, because that happens at that point of time. So when it happens, they are living with it. They don't have any needs. They are not breaking with the nature. The nature, is with them. And even the natural change of nature is there. They are able to adopt themselves and stay there. This is exactly to wonder at the world and be a wonderful being also. This one. And then the last line, first line, na pragyam na apragyam. It is also not that he doesn't give you any knowledge. See, he gives you every knowledge. Whatever you deserve and get it. As we saw in Kenopanishad, he is beyond known and unknown. What we know is little within our sphere. We know that. What we don't know is vast. Most of them I don't need to know for my survival. Because I have done something, but I don't have to know anything, how a helicopter is being made, because it is not required for me to survive. If the helicopter is there, everyone is traveling, I will also be traveling. But I don't need to know how it is being manufactured technically, because nor I am trained for that. So my deserving, what I am deserving, he has given me, because you have to do this only, and you be that, and this is right thing for you. I will have to be happy with that. So now apragyam. So because when you are thinking, I don't have the knowledge like that, and I will learn this. I will because then I will go to that place and know. I don't know about this religion, so let me go and find out what is that religion. And this is apragyam, because it is nothing. Because by doing that, so many things which we don't know, which is not within our ambit of our approach, don't bother about it. It is beyond that. He is beyond known and beyond unknown. That's what we have said in Kenopanishad. So therefore, just to confine himself to the known or unknown, what we don't know, both are not possible. It is beyond the three things. In the sense, like gold is there in the tiara, in the bracelet, as well as in the necklace. But the gold per se can't be used. You can see and enjoy the necklace or bracelet or tiara, a pure gold, only you can keep it in the locker. That will also be not 24 carat as it is in 22 point. Some impurities will be there that will have to be stored. You cannot hold in the gold these bars around your neck and go. You will have to see the ornament and do that. But once you understand the gold is in thing in the entire thing, that is Turiya. Once you understand that, the entire whatever we have, we are and what we have been and we are going to be, it is because of that power. Once you understand that, once you try to approach him, you will be able to approach him by balancing everything. Balancing your desire, balancing your wants, balancing your actions, and balancing your approach to others, and taking the whole thing and as a sort of entirety. Because you don't have to have any imbalance. And look after your body also, because your body is as important as anything else, because it has been given by the body. He will take away the body. But till such time we are responsible for this body to look after, we will have to look after. So but at the same time, you look after to the extent you desire to know. You should not be going by what the body says. That is Charavaka philosophy. The Charavaka, there was one philosophy was there. It said, you just, whatever your bodily needs are there, go about it and live in this life. Nothing else is required. And the body, once it is satisfied, you get a moksha. That is what it said. The entire Charavaka philosophy was one of the first philosophy, which has been taken into account, propounding all other philosophies. The Charavaka philosophy left, it had its own death, because so many other philosophies came. Jainism, Buddhism, all other things came. This is what Charavaka philosophy says. But bodily needs is to the extent it is required to be kept in tune to get the experience of this world, to experience the knowledge of this world. That is what, otherwise the body has got as importance like anything else. God has given the body. Likewise, whatever comes, it has come, and whatever doesn't come to me, whenever goes, it goes. Like that, the body is also like that. He has given it, it is here. I will look after, and to the extent I am required to, and so that live in this world. And then afterwards, it is up to him, whatever he wants to do. With this approach, it is not indifference, it is a conscious balancing approach to your everyday world. And it is not by default you will be living. Now we are all living by default. If I say that, you will have to think over and understand it instead of being explicitly enunciated again and again. Because if you see, once you have a little conscious approach by little sort of, the changing the attitude as to whatever has come or whatever, even today 10 things are to be happening. Only 2 things happened and 8 things didn't happen. Don't bother, but work for that. Don't that, you leave it as it is. Why it is not happening, you will be knowing the reason. If not, at least you will try to find the reason for that. Work on that. And do that and leave it, and whatever comes, you take it. Because this is what finally being enunciated. Karmanyeva adhikarastu mahapaleshu kadachana. You got only the right to do the duty, not to expect it. Because if you expect it, your duty, you will not be able to do it properly. That is what the entire approach is. So once you have that approach like a lotus, and you do it, and everywhere, all of us, we do have our obligations in everyday life. We do have our obligation not only to others but to ourselves, but we do have a very great obligation to listen to ourselves. Our mind is constantly chattering on so many other things. But when you are having a momentary, because introspection, or when you are having a momentary moment for you, the mind tells you, what is it and all. Because we are being worked by the mind, we are not working on the mind. To work on the mind only, this entire mantra states, to work on your mind to have a balanced approach, so that you don't have any unwanted, unreasonable desires. Not only unwanted, unreasonable desires. And you are also able to live with what you have comfortably, peacefully, because you are fortunate enough to have what you wanted. And He has given it to you. Ishavashyam idagam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bunjitaha. Whatever He has given, you be satisfied with it. Not only satisfied, enjoy that. Because whatever He has given, utilize it. He has given a facility. If you use it for your own benefit or the benefit of others, use it. He has given it to you only for that purpose. Tena taktena bunjitaha makrita kasyasvitanam. I am not going to covet anyone else's. I am not going to have an undue desire, taking out, something else. That is not going to be there. This entire, that Isavasya first mantra, to have that, done, this mantra initiate, na antapragyaha, na bahipragyaha, no bayatapragyaha, no more desires, na pragyana ganam, na pragyam. No more desires in the sense, be satisfied with whatever you are. No have an undue desire. Na pragyana ganam, na pragyam, na apragyam. Now pragyam in the sense going to do all the meditation, I am having this vision, that vision and all, you have it, but that is not the ultimate reality. The ultimate primordial power only with a flash, when your mind is not generating any thoughts on anything and all, finally you make your mind available to Him. The Aniruddha concept, what we said. The Aniruddha, is the concept of one of the avatar, this Vishnu in the form of Aniruddha. He is the one who is taking care of the mind. He is giving you all the memories. He is giving you all the abilities to do everything and all. When we are alive, we are supposed to be having the Aniruddha form, which is the enlivening power which is taking care of us. Otherwise, that's why you might have seen Pradyumna, Sankarshana and Vasudeva, when you say, when you are giving, your Amavasya, Tarpanam and all, for your forefathers, you are the causes, previous causes. Vasudeva is your grandfather, and Sankarshana is his father, and Pradyumna is Sankarshana is grandfather. Great grandfather was Vasudeva, and your father is Pradyumna. That comes. And we are supposed to be in this body, Sthiti, because Srishti and Sthiti, when we are there, it is Aniruddha. So likewise, when He has given that, once you have that, that is the awareness. Awareness is nothing but, when you live with whatever you have and don't desire for anything, balance it. And then constantly work on whatever you have to do in front of you. Don't be procrastinating. Upanishad says, please stop and you learn. Heard Upanishad, have a good food and tea. It doesn't say that. The danger of Upanishad is it can put you into sleep because it is so abstract concept. But we will have to come to the waking stage. From the seed, we will have to come to the waking stage consciously and take this and to be a lotus in this world. That is what it says. It has given all the negative or concepts as to what is not there. What is not there in the sense, and it is called whatever is is in Kannada you say idu Allah. When you say it is is nothing. It is like nanta pragyaha, na bahi pragyaha, na bayata pragyaha, na pragyana ganam, na pragyam, na pragyam. Neti in the Sanskrit is not. So neti in the not in the sense, it is not the primordial power, it is something else. That something else is the approach what we will be getting it. From third sentence onwards, you will be getting positive descriptions. What is the description of, elegant description of the God? First, they have removed all your doubts about it. You can think, I will go to that yoga master, he will give me, I will get into the samadhi, and finally I will have the vision of the God. That is it. No, it's not that. And then you say, there are so many things I don't know, I will have to go and learn it. It's not that. No apragya. But he gives you a knowledge in the sense, desireless knowledge as you are in a deep sleep. That is what finally he is going to give. And the positive stances, which has been described, adrishtam, avyavaharyam and all, we will see in the next class. That's why I said, because this mantra itself will take more than one session. Presumably next session we will be closely able to complete this particular great concept. I understand very well, it is sort of a very, very abstract, from what we have been discussing, and because we cannot be giving any live examples, in the world. Still, we will try to give some live examples as to what has happened to prove whatever has been purport of this particular mantra for our understanding. The earlier one also, this is just to give the introduction to approach the mantra and how we will be able to get the concept, because this is the mantra, one and the only mantra, which doesn't have any parallel in any Upanishad. That means this mantra we will have to give as much attention possible. Once we know that, we might have taken all the concepts of Upanishad almost in entirety. With this, I will try to conclude today's session. I know it is quite a heavy session. I think presumably you can give me suggestions, we can still make it, and we will also try to bring the real life examples on some of the things which only can help us to understand that. Basically, it gives you unwanted, chaff out of our desires and chaff out of our approaches and attitude, bring about it. It is changing our attitude only. We can take that, because since we are going to be living in this world, every day we are going to face so many things. This is some substance as a sort of a elegance in approach to this great concept. With this, I think I will conclude, and if you have any comments or suggestions, I would like to hear, and then I think I have taken a little longer time than usual. I think you can tell me that.
I think as you rightly said, the full explanation of what has been looked for, I think it is slowly coming to a beginning, commencement of that. As you rightly said, first say what is not there.
Correct.
Go for what is there.
You see, in our entire Veda and Upanishad, the concept of describing the God or any Paramatma, any great thing is neti, neti, neti. They don't say this is it. You cannot be, because it's not an object. It is not a vastu. It is not like a cell phone or a tablet or a computer or a table or a chair. But it is something has to be understood by everyone in their own way. See, because each one of us God has given a special capability to all of us, and we have got our own approaches within our capacity, within our means, and as per our yogyata, because we are all coming with our own deserving status what God has given us. We will be doing that. That is why this is all directions. We are only means of bringing the direction to you. It is.
Voice is down.
Voice, your voice is not audible.
Are you able to now? Is it okay now?
Between there was a slight, I think, the connection problem or something.
Yeah. I think, internet problem was there.
Some beep noise is there.
Yeah, it's okay now?
Okay, now.
Now it is quite.
Thank you so much.
Okay. So we will conclude today's session. Sahana vavatu सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहैः तेजस्विनावतीतमस्तु मा विश्वितावहैः ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः Welcome sir, thank you. See you next week. All the best.